Okay, welcome to episode 60 of the SumerSports show. As we let the music run down a little bit here, I'm Eric Eager. Oh, and we have that over in the other part here. I'm Eric Eager. I'm joined today by Parker Fleming, who is just going as Parker here because much like Prince, Nene, many other like great people in entertainment who have been just by one name. He's going as Parker here at Sats of War on Twitter. And I'm also joined by Tej Seth, data scientist, both of these guys, data scientists at SumerSports. Guys, we haven't done a 3-person pod in forever. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Yeah, I think it was a couple weeks before the draft. Maybe we did a little bit of a roundtable, but yeah, it's been a little bit. And Tej was off on his well-deserved international vacation after graduating college. So yeah, glad to be back with both you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm really excited for today. You know, like you mentioned, Eric, it's Parker, Oprah, Ellen, like all these entertainment moguls that are going by one name here. So, you know, it's an honor to be on the same show as you guys today as well.
I went straight to like basketball. Remember when Nene Hilario just went by Nene, like just eliminate his last name, and like unlike Parker, Nene was like very like nondescript and kind of like an average NBA player. And you know, while Parker is an absolute star here and deserves just the one name moniker here. Really enjoy. We kind of get some people into the chat here. We already have Doug Analytics. Looking forward to this one. I am too. Today we are going to draft quarterback contracts. Now, we're not just drafting the contracts. We're drafting the asset that goes with the contracts, right? So it's not just like, you know, oh, I want to draft Mike White because he has a relatively modest contract. No, we're going to draft the player that goes along with it as well. But we are going to, in a snake draft form, starting with me and then Parker and then Tej and then doing a snake. Draft 6 quarterbacks each. We've both probably gone through our different methods of going through and ranking how good the contracts are. Let's set aside a few ground rules. Like, what is the time period for each one of these? What are we drafting?
Yes.
How many years are we drafting this for, guys?
Yeah, so we're drafting for the next 5 years. So I think that's what will make this a lot of fun is you have to consider age. And then you also have to consider quarterbacks who are on a contract right now that isn't going to last past this 5-year parameter that we set. You have to kind of think about what's their next contract going to look like. So that's okay for a rookie quarterback like Bryce Young, who we know is going to have his 4 years on his rookie deal plus his 5th-year option. But for someone like Trevor Lawrence, who only has a couple years left on his rookie deal, we have to kind of think about what his next contract is going to look like. And so that's what I think will make this interesting. And then I know Parker will really like this as well. You also could draft a quarterback that's currently in college right now, but you'll only get 4 years of them instead of 5 years because they still have to finish up their final year in college. But you can also consider that as well in the draft when we draft the 6 quarterbacks each.
And you can absolutely tank for Caleb Williams, Drake May, you know, your favorite guy, Milton out of Tennessee. I love this. I love this concept. It makes you actually like. It made me like people act. You know, look, people might think this is just natural, like how good I am at this show. But I actually went at lunchtime today and actually pinned down what I thought the surplus value of each of these contracts was. So I at least came prepared because I know how smart you guys are. And if I don't, I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb. Any closing thoughts before we get to this, before I draft first overall here?
I feel like it's imperative, Eric. We've mentioned on this podcast before the official slogans about like waiting for Williams, delay for May. I want to let you guys know that the tanking for Joe Milton slogan is Wilton for Milton. I don't love it, but I think it's what we've got to go with there. So yeah, we'll see where Milton gets in this draft, if at all. Yeah, I drew up a little. I'm not going to show it to anyone because my handiwork's bad, but I drew up a little, just a little, budget constraint and some optimization and some diminishing returns about quarterback play versus age and all that. So I don't have a fixed number, but I have a little bit more than vibes, and I think I've got a good strategy being in the middle here.
Yeah, I think vibes is always like the right way to start the conversation because otherwise, these things are not particularly enjoyable if we just went straight by the numbers. But luckily, all three of us are huge football junkies that will draft a player based on. Tej has taken Jared Goff in this draft at some point, and we just know that either him or Hendon Hooker. So I'm first. We drew that. I'm first. And okay, like I'm just gonna. I know this is not like this is I'm a Kansas City fan. I'm also like a huge Patrick Mahomes fan. He's my favorite player. Like the issue here is though, and I get it. Like he's going to sign a new deal that's going to make him, effectively, paid probably 55 to 60 million point soon. The problem is like he's never going to be he's never going to produce less than that. The thing with Patrick Mahomes is like, and I wish like one of these days I'll do this on an iPad and we could show kind of the sigmoidal shapes and stuff. But essentially like the way that the quarterback draft curves work is like it is very like sigmoidal, right? Like you kind of increase and then you level off, but then the contracts underneath it, like the rookies are almost always a value, right? Like the rookies, the rookies are, if it goes up linear, that line is going to be above the bottom part of that sigmoidal shape. I know this is great podcasting, me using my hands to do this. And then once you get in that sort of like Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr range, the contract is always like that. It's bowing out. It's over the linear part. But then you get to Patrick Mahomes and some of these other great players who are worth more on the field than the salary can ever meet because the team always has these instruments like the franchise tag and stuff. He's always going to be worth more. And so even though there are going to be players, in my opinion, who are right now, if like you just look at 2023, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, I think, and Trevor Lawrence all have more surplus value, in my opinion, this year than Patrick Mahomes does. I think once they belly up to the well for a contract in the following year, Mahomes is going to overtake them. So I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes first.
Not unexpected. Wanted to shout out Matt Edwards saying that we should draft Taysom Hill in the first round. Eric, I based my entire draft strategy on you taking Patrick Mahomes in the first round, and that makes sense. I made a similar argument. I think, especially at the top end, the conversation about that we've had in the past, for instance, about like rookie quarterback and the how valuable that contract is, has to do with the uncertainty of the rookie contract versus the relative certainty of those other key positions. Now you can kind of invest your resources in a way that facilitates someone like a Jalen Hurts or heck, even a Brock Purdy to come in and run a functional offense with really good surroundings. In this conversation, though, I think I have to not worry about that as much. So I prioritized age. I prioritized what I think is quality with limited uncertainty. And so I think my natural pick here is Josh Allen. Pretty expensive, not the most expensive quarterback. In terms of certainty, we know what he's going to be. He's locked up for the entirety of this horizon. And so I think his contract only gets better as we see guys like Burrow, and then Herbert's going to get paid and Lawrence is going to get paid during this horizon. Him being locked in, I think, makes him especially valuable. So I'm going Josh Allen at number 2.
Are you worried all about injury with him? Like how
well, I think the other natural pick here would be Kyler Murray, kind of by that by the same logic I'm going. And I think I'm more worried about Kyler Murray and his Call of Duty antics than I am about Josh Allen per se. Of course, just a joke there. But I don't know. I think that he's not. Obviously, we have to build behind that. But I think that Allen, 8th in avoiding sacks in terms of in terms of negative EPA on sacks this last season. I don't know that the injury is the biggest concern here, where I know what the upside is, and I know with certainty what the upside is of Josh Allen. I think in the NFL, if you can know that you have a quarterback that is going to be that good, that kind of trumps all else for me.
Now we're not even out of the first round, and we're already saying, like, I thought what you just said was very interesting. You said, I know with certainty what the upside is. This is sort of like this second order effect where you're saying we don't know what the outcomes are going to be, but we know what distribution they come from. That's a very interesting statement, because we don't even know what the distribution is for somebody like Anthony Richardson. Like we're guessing at it, and we don't know the outcomes for any players. But we do know. But you make that's a very interesting statement. I didn't want it to go unnoticed by our listeners. I thought very well said. Tej?
Mhm. Yeah, no, I love what both of you said there, and I think the most interesting point that you guys brought up is like we talk so much about the benefits of rookie contracts, especially for quarterbacks, because of the uncertainty and how you still should be able to get some surplus value even if the quarterback on a rookie contract isn't like a top 10 quarterback, like they can just be 10th through 20th, for example. But for you guys taking Mahomes and Allen at 1 and 2, I think that's because you know for certain that they are going to be one of the high level top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL these next couple of years. And that's why you can count on that, despite the contract being higher than a rookie contract. So I like those picks a lot. And with a third pick, I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence. And I think this gives me a couple benefits. You know, he has 2 years left where he has cap hits of $10 million and then $11 million in 2023 and 2024. And then he will reset the market and become the highest paid quarterback in the league, probably making upwards of 55 million a year. But in this 5 year span, I do like the 2 years of getting that very cheap rookie contract that we can, you know, build a team around. And when you look at Trevor Lawrence, obviously his rookie year was a disaster from a coaching perspective, but last year he ranked 9th in EPA per play in his first year with you know a real coaching staff around him and some competent weapons. And that included down the stretch second half of the season he was 5th in EPA per play and even had the iconic moment of coming back down 27-0 against the Chargers to win a playoff game. So all those things stacked up, adding Calvin Ridley to the receiving core, I really like to buy stock in Trevor Lawrence going into this year.
Yeah, very interesting how. Well, for one, the playoff game was so like Andrew Luck like, where you like lit the house on fire and then like took credit for putting it out. But without like Calvin Ridley going to that team will be amazing. I think obviously better off, you know, hopefully a better offensive line. Expectations are really big for them though. Minus 160 to win that division, which is to me incredible given that they're the Jaguars.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. And then, yeah, going on to the second round here. So snaking back around to my pick again, I am going to take Justin Herbert. You know, I think Justin Herbert had a down year last year, and even his biggest supporters in LA wouldn't dispute that. But I would like to also like have some Justin Herbert stock going from Joe Lombardi to Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore consistently pumped out top 5 offenses in Dallas, and Adam Vonderhaar was on here on the show a couple weeks ago to talk about that. And you know, I still think he has 1 year left of his rookie contract plus that 5th year option there as well. And you know, it's a really tough choice between him and Joe Burrow. Just because they both played at such a high level, but I just slightly prefer Justin Herbert's play style, so would like to take him there as well. And then am also considering that his extension will kick in after 2024 as well.
Yeah, I think Herbert's an interesting one, right? Like I had a tweet last year that I said everybody gets Jalen Hurts wrong. And it was sort of like, I always said that about Cam Newton too. I was just like, the people who think he sucks are obviously not right. But then the people who think he's like the second coming are also, you know, they're missing it. Herbert kind of is in that category too, where like you have Dolphins fans on Twitter who are like, oh, Justin Herbert hasn't pissed a drop in the playoffs and all this kind of stuff. And that's whatever. And then you also have people who think he's like second to Mahomes as far as quarterbacks in the NFL. And I don't know if his production has warranted that. So it's a very interesting. He's an interesting case study. I would buy the upside with him myself, but it's an interesting one.
This worked out great for me because I was going to kind of hold my nose and take Justin Herbert. Not that I don't like the pick, and not that I wouldn't have taken him gladly, but the uncertainty is pretty high. Because it's a little bit more of like, I feel like with Justin Herbert, our priors are pretty strong about like, dude, he's a guy we know, But at what point is that going to translate around, the supporting context and everything? And at what point is that going to translate? So I think the uncertainty there makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm actually, again, going to go really high certainty here and take Joe Burrow, knowing that I'm going to extend him the second I can. He's got 2 years left on this contract. And so we get a little bit of surplus value over the next 2 years, but then possibly we could parlay that into extending him and moving that money and longer. But I think getting 2 years of him on the horizon, knowing that we can give him a fat deal, and maybe he'll have a Mahomesian spirit and be a little flexible with that, so we can continue to build around him. I think you've got to take the upside of quality here and a couple of discounted years. So I'm glad Tej took Herbert, because I'm going to go ahead and go with Burrow for number 2.
Okay, you've left me now the cliff falls, right? Because I think that if you look, I think Dak Prescott's probably a 0 surplus player. I think he plays right up to his contract. I think Kyler Murray's an interesting one. Lamar Jackson's an interesting one. I'm not touching Derek Carr, Daniel Jones with a 40-foot pole here. No way. Deshaun Watson, no. Russell Wilson, no. The veterans are kind of tough here. I'm gonna go. All right, I'm gonna go one high, one low. I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson with my second pick. Lamar Jackson.
I'm waiting.
And then I'm gonna go. God, I'm gonna do it. Anthony Richardson, Colts.
Dang it. I shouldn't have reacted. I baited you into it.
No, I mean, look, I was going to Bryce Young, obviously, I think has a shot. CJ Stroud, but I don't know, man. I think if you play for Houston, and again, we're a very positive podcast here. We are duckies and bunnies about every single team. Every single team is amazing. But if you play for Houston, you got a low floor, in my opinion, right? And if you're 5'8.5", 190 with a 10-pound weight strapped to your waist, you got a low floor too. So I said this, I think, with Tej on last Monday's show. Shane Steichen, I get him, and he's starting out. And I get, a guy who took Justin Herbert to the, to Rookie of the Year, got fired for some reason, then took Jalen Hurts to the Super Bowl, and I have now a quarterback. And look, Jalen Hurts 2 years ago was a second-round pick for Alabama, out of Alabama, who played one half of one good game and then 3.5 kind of bad games, got benched for Nate Sudfeld in the tank game. And Steichen took him and made him Pro Bowl guy, Super Bowl guy, Patrick Mahomes on the ropes in the Super Bowl guy. I don't know, man. I'm willing to buy into Anthony Richardson, especially because if I do, then I have the whole league I'm going to save it for the Manscaped read, but I have the whole league by the junk there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good pick. That's obviously the pick I wanted. And I think that's kind of the highest upside quarterback. And for the surplus value, all variance there is positive, right? If I expect a rookie quarterback to be nothing, his entire upside is positive to me. I'm at a critical juncture, I think, at this turn, because this is my third pick, right? And I think I got 2 solid picks with Josh Allen and with Joe Burrow. I think I'm winning the league, running the 2 quarterback offense there. But then it's what do I do? So I wanted to go upside with Anthony Richardson. Now I'm trying to figure out whether I can somehow reverse engineer this draft to get Eric to have to take Kirk Cousins and to figure out how I could get that worked. The other one is I'm extremely tempted by my I can fix him energy with Jameis Winston at $4 million a year. It's too early for that, and that's too absurd. But I'm kind of thinking about all right, where can I get some value? So I agree with all your points on Bryce Young. I think with the horizon and what I've got to pay a guy, I think that Bryce Young gives me the most value here. And so I'll take him for my third pick overall.
Yeah, okay, so you guys are taking a lot of the players I had high here, which at least means my process was sound if you guys are taking these players, but it's also tougher for me to end up deciding what to do here. So with those two rookie quarterbacks off the board, and considering how much I like both of them, I do think that I have to go one quarterback on a veteran deal, and then maybe follow suit with what you guys are doing. So, to close out the third round, I will take Lamar Jackson. It's really tough that he's
Hey, is
Oh,
on
Eric got him.
the.
Eric got him.
I got him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, not Lamar Jackson.
Tampering.
So Dak Prescott. I'll take Dak Prescott. um, and yeah, I will take Dak Prescott here, and I think he is on a contract where it's a little bit harder to generate surplus value, like you mentioned, Eric. But I think that what Dak Prescott provides is just so good, and I think he does so many things well, both from a run game and a pass game perspective. And I was tweeting about this yesterday, but last year he went from, according to PFF, he went from having a 3% turnover worthy play rate in 2021 to a 4% turnover worthy play rate in 2022, but his interception rate more than doubled. So I think he caught a lot of bad variance last year, tied for the league leading in interceptions with Davis Mills, and I think that reverses this year. I am a little bit worried about him losing Kellen Moore as a play caller, but I think adding Brandon Cooks should be able to offset that. And he does have that longer deal where the Cowboys will probably have to come back and give him another type of extension before this time frame ends up here. And I don't think that it'll be something that's like totally out of this world, considering how like the first contract negotiation went. So Dak Prescott would be my pick to close out the third round there.
So interestingly, now let's throw the contracts out of there. Top 3 quarterbacks in the NFC. Dak, Hurts, Kyler. Yeah. Like, I feel like people think it's controversial. They're going to throw names in there like Daniel Jones or Kirk or Derek Carr or something. Like, if you're starting a franchise and nothing else matters, like, for one, we're all like, regression is the rule, right? And the money's made on the tails, right? Like, that's how this whole thing works, right? But Jalen Hurts, you're going to lose the coordinator, was amazing already. You have injury concerns with the running all the time. And again, amazing progression, all that. Like, Dak, you're buying Dak at the dip there. Like, Dak's the number 1 quarterback in the NFC, right? And like, I don't think it's controversial at all, but people on the Twitter will put you on a pan and fry you if you say that.
Yeah. And in some ways, like Jalen, like the problem with someone like Hurts is not that he didn't have a great season and didn't play great in the role. One, they have so much turnover in the staff. Two, it's kind of like, I mean, you see this with like, how many random MAC quarterbacks in college football can you think of? And you're like, dude, they were awesome one year because they had like a fringe NFL wide receiver and an overwhelming talent advantage on the lines, and they looked awesome. That guy comes back the next year and looks terrible. And you're like, yep, there's a very hard ceiling. And Jalen Hurts ceiling, Super Bowl, like that's amazing. But like they have hit it. The favorable bounces have happened. I don't know that there's much more on the table to be gained from a Jalen Hurts. So like that's kind of hard because he's a good quarterback, but we're talking about like best, and especially looking in a forward sense. I'm not picking him at all. Especially because they just extended him, but it's just really, really hard to say. I don't know how much more positive variance could go Jalen Hurts' way, even with the Eagles having this really good surrounding context.
Yeah, so the Justin Crum slander has to stop on this podcast. But speaking,
I was thinking more of Drew play.
I was going to say Western Michigan's Caleb Ellaby, going from that crazy season in 2020 to just like not doing much in 2021.
Yeah, XFL legend now.
Yeah.
Speaking of something we are picking, Manscaped. Okay. I know, Parker, you can sort of turn your camera off or whatever, but Manscaped, the first ever sponsor of this great podcast. Look, Father's Day is coming up, right? And so this is a 2-gendered gift that you can give out, right? It can be a gift for yourself. I remember growing up, Tej, Parker, I would look under the Christmas tree, and my dad's name is Brian. He listens to the show. Hey, Dad. He would make himself gifts, say to Brian from Brian. It was the most tilting thing ever. But he would buy himself gifts. If you're the buy yourself a gift type of guy, buy yourself the Father's Day gift of Manscaped, 20% off. Promo code Sumer. If you have a man in your life that you want to buy a gift for, again, promo code Sumer gets you 20% off. one of the great gifts ever. We've gone over this a million times. What the products are, their products improve greatly. Look, they're one of the great brands in the history of the United States where they started with the ad first and then built a product. A genius idea. Most people start with the products, then build the ads. But they're a one of a kind product here in America. Get yourself a Manscaped, weed whacker, whatever, 4.0, fourth generation, as Tej and I joked about the other day. There have been more generations of Manscaped tools than there have been Shanahan's in the NFL, twice as many actually. Get yourself a Manscaped kit, 20% off with the promo code SUMER. Tej, you're up next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic ad read as always. Everyone out there should be looking to get Manscaped, and when you do, make sure to put in the promo code SUMER so we can keep doing fun stuff like that. So open up the fourth round now, 3 rounds down. Just to recap, took Trevor Lawrence in the first, Justin Herbert in the second, and Dak Prescott in the third. So I don't really have a quarterback that is going to give me a rookie contract every single year that he's on my team. And for that reason, I do have to go with Houston Texans, CJ Stroud. Here, I love Stroud as a prospect coming out. I thought that he gave you a lot of things that you want from an NFL quarterback. The accuracy is there. The processing is there. And he performed at a high level at Ohio State for many years. And with taking CJ Stroud here in this 5-year time frame, I get 4 years of the cheap rookie contract, and then I get that 5th-year option. So full control over how much he's getting paid for the next 5 years. So wanted to take him here, but I know it's tough to kind of separate the player from the value, and there's still so much uncertainty with someone like Stroud. But since you guys took the other 2 rookies, I felt like it was time for me to get in there as well.
I don't hate that at all. I think Stroud, the issue is you're buying into DeMeco Ryans and like that Houston team kind of becoming something that can be conducive to quarterback success, which, Ryans comes from a pretty good place in San Francisco that I think can really foster that. So not a terrible bet, Tej.
And eternity begins anew in the AFC South, man. You can be whatever you want to be with just a little bit of elbow grease. So I like that. I think there's a lot of upside there as well. I'm running. All right, so we're getting like real rubber meets the road here, and I'm gonna. Doug Analytics beat me. I was gonna hit a home run because I think what I wanted to do is like if I could only take NFL people, I think I'm taking Tua here just because you get 2 years where he's less expensive than the current rookies. But if I'm taking complete upside and I'm taking control in this game, I only get 4 years of Caleb Williams. Right, because one of them he's still in college, but I think that the tools are there. All of the metrics you like to see, the pressure to sack ratio, the accuracy, the minimizing turnover worthy plays, he's there. We saw him hobble around on one leg against Utah and without any alignment, and still almost single-handedly pull some of that out. So I think that you've got next generation talent. You can prioritize the rookie contract, the control there, a guy who should be able to start day one for you. And here cheating a little bit, if I have a year knowing that my quarterback of the future is definitely coming down the pipe, I can build around that accordingly. So I like the flexibility. I'm going to go Caleb Williams here in what I think is a little bit of a reach, but I'm comfortable. You got to go get your guy, right?
You do. Man, I'm like, I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not buying Justin Fields right now. Like I loved him coming out of college. I had an enormous amount of money in Ohio State against Clemson in the year that they won, the pandemic year 2020, where he went off and like broke his ribs. Like I have positive feelings about Justin Fields as a player. I have not necessarily seen it in the first 2 years in the NFL with the Bears. Like I see, taking a lot of sacks. I see not being necessarily as accurate as he was in college, all this kind of stuff. Be that as it may, I feel like he's the best value left on the board. Am I going to take Mac Jones? I'm not taking Mac Jones. Mac Jones is like, Mac Jones is just a guy. Am I going to take Kenny Pickett? No. Am I going to take among the slog of the Baker Mayfields, Andy Dalton, Sam Darnolds? No. And then all the other guys, like the veteran guys, and I'm not taking Kirk Cousins. I don't care. So, so I'm going to go Justin Fields here the first time around the turn, which I think sets me up pretty nice because now, and this is another one where, like, again, when this is for everybody here, like when the environment changes, you have to kind of change your mind, or you have to just like be able to move off of it. I'm not a huge Tua fan either anymore. Like I think after they pay Tua, the bill comes due, Tyreek Hill retires, and he goes and does a podcast and no one listens to, or Jalen Waddle has to get his money. Like I think the world's going to get really fair for Tua, and he has bulked up a little bit, frankly. I like seeing that. But I also don't – I think it takes a lot for me to look at a coach like Mike McDaniel and say he's it and he's going to be it forever. We've seen that kind of with a lot of coaches. And so despite these two picks, I'm not a fan of them. I'm just taking them because I think they're the best value on the board. So I'm going to take Justin Fields and then Tua Tagovailoa with my two picks.
Nice.
Parker?
Yeah, it does get a little stale here. And I don't mean in the sense of these quarterbacks aren't good, but we're talking about the surplus value. Like I think that I kind of swung at the beginning and thought like if somebody took Allen, I would have talked about maybe taking Kyler, but I think down here that just doesn't make sense. And I don't know necessarily what our objective function is, but I feel like I've already drafted a lot of money and I want to kind of get value for money here. I'm prepared to get like the littlest bit weird here. Trey Lance is only 23. He still has 3 years of control left, and it's only $8 million a year. I feel like I can make a worse pick in this situation than saying, look, his one appearance, it was raining. He hasn't been healthy. He just needs some reps. He showed us the raw tools. Clearly, I mean, I think there's some signal in San Francisco saying we wanted him and went to go get him. I think his ceiling might still be there. Ton of uncertainty, but relatively low cost. You got some control. Relative to having to, get $1 million of surplus value on Kyler's current contract, I feel like I could get $1 million of surplus value out of Trey Lance being only costing me $8 million a year. So I think this is probably my weirdest pick. 23 years old, $8.5 million. I'm going to go with Trey Lance here for is this my fifth pick?
No, that's six.
Yeah,
right?
Fifth pick. Fifth, one more. We got one more after this. Yeah.
Okay. Then my tweet was wrong then. Okay. The interesting part here, right? Like for those that like are historians of the league, it's just so much different with this now, right? Because you think back in the day, like when Aaron Rodgers was drafted, his first contract was 5 years, $7 million. So like the Packers waiting 3 years, and then they still get 5, 6. They still get years 4 and 5 at like 1.5 a clip. They can still control them. You even saw it now with like Jordan Love. If you get to year 4, you got to make that 5th-year option decision. And if there's not a ton of data on you, it's just awkward, right? And so like I wish, as much as the rookie wage scale makes sense and it provides like this edge for teams and it gives, for the line, like you think about last year, the Lions and the Jags were both picking 1, 2. They go 9 and 8, both teams. Like it gives an opportunity for teams that have been struggling for a long time to elevate themselves because of the surplus there. It does lessen the quarterback maturation. And now hopefully with the third quarterback rule coming back, that's a helpful thing. But the contracts are just so hard, right? Because if Lance doesn't show you anything this year, like what are you doing? Like are you going to pick up a $20 million option? Are you going to your $25 million option, depending upon how he plays? And like, are you going to do that? Because it's just so weird to me. Even though, yeah, I think a team like Minnesota should be trading for Trey Lance right now. I think a team that like needs a quarterback of the future should be trading for Trey Lance right now.
Tennessee for what they were asking a third? Yeah, dude, take a third. I'll take Trey Lance. Yeah, 2/3 even. Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you're a team like San Fran that doesn't have. They had a lot of compensatory picks, but they don't have a lot of picks coming up.
Yeah,
they didn't have a lot of picks this year. They need to replenish the roster with younger players. I like that pick, Parker. Good job.
Yeah, no, I think that was like the most interesting pick in this draft so far, because like it kind of, you can look at it from so many different levels, right? Like Trey Lance, we know how important draft position is in models, even 4 or 5 years out, and further than that into someone's career, right? Like draft position stays with you forever. There's certain late bloomers who are first round picks who took a couple years to get going and adjust to the league and go from there. So you can bet on that with that side. But I'm also like on the other side of things, there's big signal and volume, and that's something that we talked about last week, Eric, where if San Francisco didn't want to play Trey Lance his rookie year, he got injured last year, and then this year they're open to trading him. Is there some information advantage from San Francisco that they know something about Trey Lance that we don't know, where they don't believe he can play at eye level? But Parker, like you mentioned, like that third round pick is, most likely not going to amount to much, on an average level of when you look at all third round picks. So you might as well take a chance on a quarterback who went number 3 overall in a draft that, featured these quarterbacks that have ended up full-time starting for their team, like Mac Jones and Justin Fields, who went after Trey Lance. So that's the really interesting thing, I think, is like, how much do you want to weigh his draft prior compared to like what San Francisco has showed you?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a really good way to think. And like right now, just to sort of reset the board, because Tej has 2 picks, and then Parker and I are going to finish off with 1 pick each. Still left on the board: Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, and then we had Prescott picked. And then beyond that, you're looking at guys like Garoppolo, Tannehill, Brissett, Geno Smith, Taylor Heineke, as our friend Colin here has said. This is Sam Howell country, and so forth. You get guys like Jordan Love, and then a bunch of backups beyond the younger guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah. So we'll do the last 4 picks here. I'll take. I've taken 3 like relatively bigger contracts by the time we're in year 4, year 5 here. Even though Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert still have some time left, they'll still be on big contracts eventually. But I do have to take a quarterback that is currently on a bigger contract right now on a non-rookie deal in Jalen Hurts. And for this one, it was between Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray for me, because I wanted to get one more like pretty high level quarterback on my team here. And since we're just doing next 5 years, if you were to go to Jalen Hurts's over the cap page, you have to see the way that Howie Roseman and this Eagles front office structured this contract. Jalen Hurts in these next 5 years, from 2023 until 2027, does not have a cap hit over $42 million. He does have a 2029 void year that is supposed to count for $97 million against the cap that they will restructure eventually as they get down there. But I think that right now, with the way that Hurts's contract is set up, you're only going to be paying him at most 10-11% of the cap by the 5th year of this time frame that we have here. So I do like taking him here in this spot. And then for my other pick, I am going to go with Drake May, a quarterback that's still in college. I want that the value there, and since I took a couple expensive quarterbacks, I think Drake May can balance it out. I think Caleb Williams, fantastic prospect, up there with Andrew Luck's and Trevor Lawrence's of the world from a prospect perspective. Drake May and listener of the show JT O'Sullivan at the QB School does fantastic breakdowns on this. Drake May is a really, really good quarterback prospect. He still does have that year in college before he can get to the NFL, but it's just some stats from him from PFF. He accounted for 205 first downs last year, which was 3rd in all of college football behind Clayton Tune and Michael Penix Jr. And then he had an 8.6 big time throw rate, which led all of college football. So I just really like everything that Drake May has to offer, and getting him in the 6th round, I think is just something that I'll take a shot at, and hope he'll be good in the 4 years that he's in this time frame for.
Gosh, that leaves me only with when it turns to me, Anthony Tresh, one of my former colleagues and still one of my good friends, Spencer Rattler, who I nicknamed Spencer Rattler over the last few years. That's like the only one that I mean, we could go with Joe Milton too.
It's dark down here, and yeah, Milton. Like this, if I was going to take Milton, this would be the pick, right?
Michael Penix Jr. too. I mean, look, we can go with our Bo Nix. I mean, you're in a desperation mode if you go Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. Even though I like what Penix did last year for Washington, but
yeah, and so this is where like, okay, if I start talking to myself about like, all right, Baker Mayfield 1 year deal, Jameis Winston 1 year deal, not really interested in Mac Jones or Kenny Pickett. Like anyone I take at the lower end of this distribution is strictly dominated by the potential of the future quarterback, right? Like the fact that I'm gonna have 4 years of control and all of that. Like, am I gonna bet on Jordan Love being something that we don't know? Geno Smith is 33 still on there, even though and just got paid. Yeah, it's pretty slim pickings after about 6 quarterbacks here. I really have no idea what I wanted to do with this pick. This has gotten so far away from me that I thought I was going to be able to get Drake May. I think the backup, like the consolation prize, is Sam Howell here. He's going to start. We're going to find out what he looks like. High draft pick, guy who got to sit for a year and develop. Historically, that's worked for some guys, although there might be some signal in that. Rookie contract, couple of years. It's my 6th pick. If he's actually bad, we'll cut him and we'll move on with our lives and try again. So yeah, just for lack of like anything else here at the bottom end of the distribution, I think I'm going to take Sam Howell just for maybe something happens, right? Got the rookie control and maybe he starts and becomes a competent starter.
It would be the first pick in the 2022 draft, like when that draft cycle kind of happened.
This is effectively like a 7th round pick on him, right? Like yeah.
Raise your hand if you just found out today that Ryan Tannehill is 35 years old. That's me. I'm the problem. Like I just figured that out. Because Tannehill's not a bad flyer. I mean, the guy is like, fairly modest about what he asks for in the market. He's very athletic and like he does some things pretty well. I think he loves throwing it to the middle linebacker every once in a while, but who doesn't? Look, there's a part of me that wants to take Deshaun Watson here because of how good he can be and how much the Browns will support him with money. And then there's like the other part of me that says, no, you're stupid. So I'm going to listen to the other part of me that there's just too much risk there. And there's obviously just there's gestures at everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. Like my thing with Jordan Love is you're going to get a kind of Kirk Cousins kind of thing here, I think, which is, and again, I've been a big critic of Cousins, but I think you're going to get the Kirk Cousins outcome with the benefit of what we've already seen with Cousins, which is like a team's not going to pay him that, they're not going to go broke on him. I think Matt LaFleur is tremendous. I think he does a really good job of getting, they drafted tight ends, they got running backs, Christian Watson's pretty good. And so they're good. And Romeo Dobbs in year 2, they're going to run a lot of play action stuff. They're going to run a lot of he's kind of like a Ryan Tannehill type, in my opinion, in this offense, which Ryan Tannehill averaged 9 yards a pass attempt his first year as the Tennessee starter. You get that, right? You get the next year, which is going to be like $20 million, which again, if he's like a $35 million player, then you get a surplus there. And now you're just kind of running up the score. Even if he gets kind of a market level deal after that, you'll be at 0 surplus for the last 3 years, and I'll bank the first 2 that I just got with him, given everything else. So I'm going Jordan Love to close out the draft.
Yeah, no, I mean I do love that. I think Jordan Love choosing to take that 1 year extension instead of the 5th year option, kind of widening the amount of money that he could make, or the other end of where he doesn't play well and ends up getting less of it was like one of the more interesting decisions of the offseason, because there's just the Packers don't know what Jordan Love is going to be, and Jordan Love himself might not even know exactly what type of quarterback he's going to be. But the reason why I like betting on Jordan Love is because I think that the infrastructure that Green Bay has in place for quarterbacks in general, but even just players, is so good. We both think that Matt LaFleur is one of the best coaches and play callers in the NFL, and you can start to see this supporting cast develop. Green Bay is usually going to have a good offensive line. Christian Watson is wide receiver one worthy. You have Romeo Dobbs. You're making more investments into the pass catchers as well. So I think Love is really interesting in that spot now because of kind of what he has to offer. And we know like how badly the Packers wanted him because of his arm strength and his tools coming out of college.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and recap. We are going to post this on the SumerSports Twitter and let the people vote, see what they like the most. I went ahead. I went Mahomes. I went Lamar Jackson, and then I went Anthony Richardson. And then at the turn, I went with Justin Fields and Tua Tagovailoa, and then I finished with Jordan Love. Parker.
I in the middle, so didn't get the two picks in a row, and at any point went Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, going for the longevity there. Trey Lance took a flyer. Sam Howell took a flyer at the end of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, both of you had great drafts. Took my picks multiple times, but I think that's a good thing. So I had the third pick, and then it kind of snaked around. So Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, and then Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud, and then closed off with Jalen Hurts and Drake May.
Awesome. I really had fun doing this. I thought that we ended up. I don't know. Like I thought. Look, I wanted Drake May at the end, so congrats to congrats to Tej for taking him. I thought that was a really good pick. But I ended up only with veteran or with players who played in the league. But you guys took some swings on some players who are still in college football, which I think is great. By the way, if you like what you heard on this show, please hit the like button on YouTube, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You can go ahead and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcasts. Please, for the next show, tell somebody that you like this show so they come in. And then when this show blows up and becomes amazing, you can say you were here first. You could say you liked the band before anybody else did. So for Parker Fleming, for Tej Seth, this has been Eric Eager. This has been episode 60 of the SumerSports Show.